Dear Diary, today I would like to share with the audience what it is like to move money either every single day, every maybe single week, or maybe you do it a little bit longer term and you are a long term investor. So, with that in mind, I've been talking about um, eventually getting into stocks and some of the particulars, and today really is a good day to do just that. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to Diary of a Stock Trader. I am Eugene Brown, and I took just about $5,000 and turned it into about $2.4 million. And maybe at the end of this, I will show you. But all of that was done because I prepared every step of the way for a very long time because I could not get out of my own way. You see, when it comes to moving money in the markets, there are a lot of pitfalls, if you will. And the greatest pitfall of them all is you. You are the one that will hold yourself back from being successful. Whether you fail to take the time to learn the appropriate skills that leads to profitable trades, whether you fail in developing or creating a very structured way of identifying stocks, qualifying them through both technical and fundamental analysis, and also then finally understanding where you should enter the stock and where you should exit the stock. And we'll talk about some of that. I'll show you some charts as we move along. But the way with which I found success was to be able to recognize that we had a very serious opportunity. If you watched my last podcast, I talked about COVID and the market was going down, and I had an opportunity to put money to work. There's a saying on Wall Street that really one should look to be buying or consider buying, certainly, when there is what is called blood in the streets. And simply what that means is when there's a lot of problems, a lot of chaos, stock market is down, you will find that there are a lot of opportunities to buy things that are on sale. So, blood in the streets. I have a background in marketing, but that was many, many years ago. I used to work for the Vanguard group for a spell, and I was also a financial planner with Ameriprise Financial Services. So I had my Series 6, my Series 7, which is your stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. And it's a 6-hour exam, and you better be able to pass it if you're going to kind of move on and do some things in the financial space. So was able to certainly do that. But what I will tell you, none of that is required for you to be successful at moving money. In fact, you don't even you don't even need a high school diploma. What you need to be able to do is to be able to learn, to be able to read some charts, to be able to understand some very, very fundamental things about companies and sectors. And you need to be able to put the work in, because if you're willing to put the work in, you're going to find that learning becomes really second nature for those that actually put the work in. So for me, my story quickly, COVID was here. I gave some good advice to some of my friends and family members. I myself eventually got involved, took the balance from about $5,000 to about $33,000, and then eventually 100, and then eventually on up and up. So I get asked sometimes, like, what was that like? Like, how the hell do you make $2.4 million in 1 year from $5,000? And I want you to think about the math. And this is not a me bragging or anything. It's me trying to communicate to you what is actually possible. $5,000 times 480 puts you at about that 2.4 million. So think of it this way. If you had $5,000 in your 401k and you earned 20% on your money, you have had a good year. So the 20% equaled an additional $1,000. But I took $5,000. Gosh, please hear me. I took $5,000 and turned it into $2.4 million. Not $1,000 from 5 to 6, but from 5 to 2.4 million. And I know it's a bit of, that scenario is a bit of an outlier. That is not normal. But what I would tell you is, it is very possible. And I know because I'm living proof of it. If you begin to deploy a strategy that allows you to compound money every single day, every single week, every single month, and you stick to 2 or 3 things that you do well, and you learn to identify stocks that fit a certain setup, meaning here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for stocks that are in this price point, stocks that are in this particular sector. Maybe it's technology, stocks that have just a little bit of shares that are outstanding for people to trade, stocks that have been growing quarter over quarter and year over year, stocks that have something that's maybe new to the marketplace. Whatever the setup is for you, when you begin to run scans and you find the right setups that you yourself like to trade, you're going to find that when you identify them often and you get good at moving money, meaning I buy it at this price point and I sell it at this price point, when you get good at moving money, especially when the time frame shrinks, not meaning I own a stock for 3 months and it went from $10 to $13 and I earned 30% of my money, when you can shrink the time frame from I own it today and I'm able to make 30% in a week or in a couple of weeks instead of 3 months, then you begin to turn the money and the money compounds and grows. I would challenge you to take out a calculator or do it on your phone after this video and type in $5,000 times 110 and hit the percent sign and then hit equals. And of course it's going to be 5,500. But then hit the equal button again and it'll be 6,250. That represents 2 times you've hit it. Hit it 50 more times and see what that figure is. And you're going to find if the money keeps being reinvested as you make the money, and say the 52 times that you hit the equal sign equals 52 weeks, you're going to find that $5,000 grows into a healthy amount of money in just 52 weeks. So the lesson is here is the magic of compounding interest. And while I will tell you, and for most people it will be difficult to earn 10% a week, I will also tell you that a lot of people do it because they figure out what they need to buy and then they go do it. Let's take a look at a couple of stocks. Let me see if I can pause this and turn this around. Okay, what we're looking at is Thinkorswim, and the stock that we'll look at is Apple. So I'm going to move closer, but before I do, I want to just kind of show you my basic setup. So there is live news here. Move this a little closer. And so if Apple has any sort of news that comes out about it, that news will show up here. Then there is what is called time and sales. This is how I have it set up. So every time that Apple trades, because you can see right now it is 1:32 in the afternoon, the price for Apple currently is trading, the last trade was $323.75. Of course, this is going to keep changing. So this is the price, and then the size of the order. Did they buy 25 shares or 35 shares or one share? So time and sales, it'll give me an idea of what is going on with the stock itself. Then if I have a watch list, I can put a watch list right here. And if I'm, say, looking for some breakout names, I will use a breakout scan. This one just automatically comes up and I can see what names have recently broken out. And then there's some other gadgets that I can put down below. You have some tabs up here that will help you with your trading. And then what we're looking at is actually a chart on Apple. You can see that here's the stock price. Here's the bid and the ask. The bid are the people who wish to buy it. Hey, I'm bidding on it like you're at an auction. I bid $323.74 currently. And the ask is the people who say, wonderful, well, here's what I'm asking for it. I'm asking $323.86. And so there's someone that is called a market maker. He or she's job is to make a market in a given stock. And that is, I try to marry up buyers and sellers. And, the computer certainly does a lot of this, I would imagine. And, but there is a human component involved in all of this. And then when you buy a stock or you sell a stock, the transaction settles online at a place that I believe is called the DTC, and you don't ever physically take possession of the shares of stock that you either bought or you either sold. So stocks you can look at in a number of ways. You can look at it in different time frames. In this case, we're looking at a monthly chart. We'll make this bigger so we can see it better. So monthly chart, and you can certainly change the time frames here. So if I want to look at a weekly or a daily or an hourly, etc. Now the different time frames will tell you different things as it relates to how a stock is trading. So understanding what you should do as it relates to different time frames is important. The candle-like red and green objects you see on the screen, they are literally called candlesticks, and they look like candlesticks. And if the candlestick is red, this indicates that the stock closed lower than the previous time frame. So in this case, it's monthly. So the previous month, the stock closed at, you can see C for closed at $312.06. That was the month of May. To your left, you can see 5/1 for that time frame, but we're looking at a monthly chart. And so the following month, the month of June, which is this month, we close lower than the previous month. And so right now, the stock, Apple, has been on a nice run. The stock has gone from a low of, really, if we go back, a low this month of around $124. This is the month of January of 2023. And the stock has been in an uptrend for many, many months. It's been more than 3 years. And so it's held this uptrend line, and then the stock certainly had more of a pronounced move upward here. So these are your uptrend lines. If the stock is in a downtrend, obvious it looks like so. And if it is moving sideways, like here would be resistance, where we were moving sideways, where we couldn't make it past this top point, and here would be the support area right in here, where every time we came down to this line, it acted as support. So we were in what is called a channel or a trading range. So you have uptrends, you have downtrends, and you have trading ranges. Now, understanding what you need to do for a given stock is where the skill lies. Leaning into what we just went over would be the charts and the chart patterns, and the chart patterns certainly will tell you things, and we won't take a deep dive into it because it's not that kind of day. So that aspect of it is called technical analysis. There are also technical indicators that will help you decide on when you should buy or sell a stock. The other side of it is the news. It's the numbers. It's how many shares are outstanding for Apple versus maybe how many shares trade every day. And while what sounds like a lot of technical sort of jargon or setup, or maybe a thought process where you think, man, that sounds overwhelming, it really is not overwhelming. But it is like any other skill. It is for you to learn, and as you learn it, and as you learn the language and the moving pieces, like riding a bicycle, you will find that it gets easier and easier. But you've got to start somewhere. So in my last video, which I will link at the end of this video, the parable of the talents, it talked about, those who actually do and they put the money to work, and those who actually don't and they got nowhere because they don't. So what I will say to you guys is, we live in a world, for most people, of safe. And there's nothing wrong with that. People work 40 hours for 40 years. Hopefully they're doing something they like, or hopefully even better, something they love. They put their money in a 401k, and they let professional money managers manage it. And they are hopeful that in the end, they will have enough money in their retirement account that they will be able to retire and live a life that they would enjoy in their retirement. Now, there are those people that will take the next step, and they will have, someone that helps them with the planning, a financial planner. And the financial planner will help them stay on track. And certainly there's a cost for that advice. And then there are those who go a step further, and they not only do the 401k, and maybe they have a pension, and maybe their home is appreciating in value, and they own a few things. They are also now managing their own brokerage accounts, because they've started to figure out that the returns on their investing, the opportunity is far greater for the returns than it is in a mutual fund, in a 401k. So you try to do all of the things, whether that is a traditional or a Roth IRA that you own, your 401k, if you have a pension, if you're paying down your mortgage at a faster clip, if you invest in the stock market, There are a lot of ways, to include obviously buying real estate property, for you to be able to outperform and outdo your peers and do far better than most people globally when you deploy all of the things that I am talking about. Because in the end, you're going to find that most people do very little of any of that. And then they wake up, unfortunately, wondering or lamenting what has happened in their lives. They have failed to take any action. They failed to heed any good advice. And they could never get their lives under control, where maybe they'd have more time to explore some of the things that I'm talking about, so that they could further educate themselves, so that they have a better opportunity to live a better life going forward. Now, the sad part is they don't teach this in high schools, and probably not in college. They'll touch on some things because in most states they're having mandates that financial literacy classes, they have to be taught. And most, or a handful of business and marketing teachers, etc., and economics teachers, they are bringing in people from the outside, maybe someone like myself, to teach a class to help further their students along the way. So I will say, because it hasn't been taught to you, and maybe because your parents did not know either, is no excuse for not doing better. Because like anything else in life, you have been exposed to the opportunity. The question always is, will you lean into it and learn more about it? So that's the end of our episode for today, our page in the diary. The goal always is for me to hopefully share something with you that makes you think or makes you smarter, just helps you along the way with either a concept or a strategy or a philosophy as it relates to money. So with the diary of a stock trader, I always tell you, every page, if you will, figuratively, is like a day in your life. And if you expect to have an amazing life, it is important for you to be able to write those pages and write those chapters in a way that you'll be proud of when you open the book later and start reading what has actually happened in your life, and what decisions did you make each and every day and each and every week that will compound your success, will catapult you towards success. And so make sure you guys look to do that. Anyways, we will see you in the next episode, episode 7. If you need to reach me, you know how to find me. We'll see you guys soon.